This is Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. At this point, you're probably telling yourselves that Celis Corona must have bought Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. That's not the case. I do have a slight, I guess you could say, obsession with the Mustang line. But mind you, it is also because it's the newest, latest, and greatest ships out there. When Aegis Dynamis finally reveals its different variants for the Avenger class of ships, I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of that ship too. The other piece of this is there's a lot that comes out of how Silas got these ships to be produced. He didn't just start making these ships with his own money. He went around and saw if there would be buy-in. And the biggest buy-in he had was around the racetrack, specifically around the Murray Cup racetrack over in the Kellogg system. He is just a phenomenal businessman and looked at it, although being a multi-trillionaire and definitely having more than enough capital in his own pocket to produce this ship, he went out to companies like Original Systems, Allstop, and AMD and garnered up some cash, some capital to actually produce the ships. The ships themselves came out in a staggered event, with the first one being released being the Mustang Omega that was almost fully financed by AMD, and the second one coming out, this one here, the Gamma, and followed within a week by the Beta and Alpha and Delta. The Delta is a limited ship. The pre-orders have already been in and are being fulfilled as we speak. So let's talk about the Gamma just a little bit here. The Gamma does differ slightly from its sister ship, the Omega, and that's in that it does not have that lower scoop. It has a little bit less engine output, though it does share right around the same top speed. What that means is that the Gamma is not as quick off the line as the Omega is. So everything else seems to be the same. They share the same dimensions, which are 18 meters in length, 13 meters in width, and 5 meters in height. Make that 5.5 meters. And 13,000 kilograms at 13,000 metric tons of weight. Not so bad. There is absolutely no way this is ever going to carry any kind of cargo, as the cargo compartment is taken up by a third engine. And let's go over some of these things here and take a look at the beautiful look and feel to the ship. So what you have in here is an overdrive LR6 size 2 factory power plant. You could put a size 3 in here, which would up the output of a lot of the components. Most likely the maneuvering jets, which I think are definitely more than powered enough here. You have 3 TR2 engines, and it's the same magma jets that you see from Consolidated Outland on all of their ships. You also have the M116s for the maneuvering engines. So this thing has 8 of those, so it's pretty maneuverable for a light ship. And the max shield is 2, and that's an INK-1. Alright, let's talk a little bit about this ship. It shares so much in common with the other Mustangs, but it's sleeker, lighter alloys. It has 2 weapons points, and that's it. And honestly, a racer with weapons, what are we talking about? Death Race 3000 here? I don't know if we're going to see those anytime soon being used. Though I did hear some kind of rumors around that they were thinking about having a low combat races out in the lawless sectors of space. Though I don't think that I'd be one of the people to travel out there because you never know what's going to happen. There's a lot of places here you can do tuning of the engines, the maneuvering jets, and different pieces of the ship. That's something that you should partake in if you want to compete. Let's walk over here and take a look at the Omega and see some of the differences. The main difference here, besides the cool paint job and the AMD signage, is going to be this big, giant, well, it's not so big, is it? Doesn't look much bigger than the scoop that's on the Gamma, but believe it or not, there's some things in there that compress the air in atmosphere enough to give it a boost. Remember, the current Murray Cup races are in atmosphere. Out in space, though, you wouldn't gain much from that additional fuel scoop. Let's take another look at the AMD livery, walk around the nose over here, and then go back to its sister, the Gamma. Get in her and see if we can get a nice look around the outside of the ship. with our camera drones. So we're going to run back over here. And of course, this beautiful gamma is situated between the Delta and the Aurora LX, between two limited variants. Now, Silas Coerner, when he built this ship, decided that they weren't going to make this one a limited edition like the Omega. They talked to Original Systems and promised them that they would have all flight models within the first week of release of every ship they make from now on, and Original Systems gave them the okay to leave this as being a production vessel. That means anybody could purchase one of these and partake in racing within, well, either real life or the Original Systems Arena Commander game. So let's jump inside. You get in the same way that you do inside, get inside the Omega. You climb up, you sit down, and essentially this ship feels like you're strapping on the ship, not like you're sitting inside of it. The all-around cockpit that envelops you gives you a feeling of like being hung out there in space with nothing else around you but this one little tiny piece of electronics in front of you. The view is amazing, which is why they did make that military version, the Mustang Delta. You gotta love it, right? Let's take a look at the outside of it. Just be 1 second to move out there. I'm going to test the grips over here and see if anything's working. This, of course, is a static display. The insurance companies have taken away my right to fly these things on air, as I've busted up too many of them. So we can only use Original Systems game Arena Commander for future test flights. I'm sorry, folks. The cost of one of these ships is too high for the show at this point. So we're taking a look around it from different angles just to give you an idea of how this ship will look in your hangar. And of course, there'll be multiple skins that you could put on here, different colors. And let's just move around the outside. Look at all of that. It looks kind of like a flying... Well, this looks more like an insect than the Hornet does, doesn't it? Beautiful ship. All right, so let's move our review from the exterior views to how it does on the track. Original Systems has recently updated Arena Commander to version 1.01a, and with that I'm finding a lot of, I'm finding it hard to get in matches and actually be competitive. I've won a couple, I've lost a couple, but at times what happens is that you come off the line and the guy behind you accelerates right through you, destroying both of your spacecraft. So it was difficult in the 2 days that I attempted to get a really good race to show that off. So I'm just going to show you this race and show you how this particular vessel fares. Off the line, the Mustang is pretty quick. But if it's matched up against ships that are, well, in a class above it, like an M50 or a 350R, you may be able to keep up with it out of the gate, but keeping up with ships of that type after that becomes increasingly more difficult. I decided not to take any shortcuts in this particular match, or in any of the matches I'll show you here today, because I just didn't feel that it would be fair to show off some of the things that are in some places would be considered cheating. Here in Arena Commander, though, of course, you can cut corners all you want. But on a real track at the Murray Cup, there is no cutting corners, as most of the places that you'd be flying would be flying right through people that were, well, trying to watch the race. So the maneuverability in this ship is actually pretty good. It is able to handle the track with ease. Now, blacking out is an issue. It's something that I didn't expect, and I'm grateful that I wasn't actually flying the real ship. For if I was, Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous would be at its end, and we'd be having a memorial for, well, what was left of my body. Taking this ship on this course was actually a pleasure, and after a while I actually got a good hang of it. Making sure to use yaw in a lot of places where you can will reduce the positive and negative G's that you might feel from using pitch. I do not have any of my keys mapped or joysticks mapped differently. Actually I do. I changed the standard to be the X-axis, which is going left and right on the joystick, is for roll, and spinning the joystick is for yaw. It just works better in my mind. This particular race actually seems to be a very good one to show you, but I think that there are a couple of places where I do mess up. There are still some pieces of the track that in here do not stick out in reality. That was just my boost engines not actually working there for a second. Making sure that you have boost on is definitely something that will help, and here is one of those situations. That is something that in the actual track does not stick out, but here you got to make sure that you do fly under it inside of Original Systems Arena Commander. Alright, let's get going and see if we can get this thing through here. Alright, so we're still in first place for some reason. I'm wondering if this other person was actually being competitive. I don't even know what type of ship he's in at this point. So, coming out of this gate, you want to roll, and you want to point down towards gate 9. And then, of course, you want to point right to the entrance to the tunnel, which is where most of the accidents in real life racing have actually happened. Cutting into gate 1, you want to point down just a little bit. And as soon as you get past this sign, you want to start yawing to the right. And as you go through it, which I do not make it through, sorry about these folks, this actually was my first race in this ship in a long time. Oh, I am fighting, well, I am going against another Mustang. I think at this point he probably gets in front of me, and he does. So it's an Omega against a Gamma, and this is a good race because you'll see him right there up in front of me going towards gate 4. Now gate 4 is a gate that you could either go right or left. I choose to go left, sometimes right others, and you want to keep the boost on because you want to keep pointing towards the gate as soon as you go through one without causing yourself much grief or much G's, because the shorter the distance between 2 points, the better. And that time we were able to actually cut between those two radio antennas that stick out. Now, because we both go the same speed, it's actually going to come down to who could take the turns tighter. There is no way without a true afterburner to catch this person. You'd just be catching it in who could actually make the turns tighter. Those 2 crashes I had actually took me out of the game. You could find the Mustang Gamma at most showrooms today, and in-game at Original Systems Arena Commander, you can actually buy this ship to use within the game for about $60 or $70 US. The ship itself, like I said, it's fun to fly. It's very maneuverable and definitely able to compete. However, I'm hoping that it's going to be in a class that doesn't have to compete very often against the likes of an M50 or 350R, as the top speeds are nowhere near the same. With that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.